During a war taking place within a post-apocalyptic world between mechanical insects, a clueless mage who has been corrupted by a two-faced puppet master, and overwhelming odds, the warrior Mech Knight Blue Sky would sacrifice himself and bestow his power onto Avram, the chosen warrior of the stars. A moment in time fit for a short poem surrounding the nature of sacrifice for a future hope would be translated within the Western localization's flavor text as 3 simple words. Check this out. Flavor text in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is something that is relatively rare compared to its contemporary games. What started out as brief descriptors directly about cards themselves have evolved into occasionally self-contained stories or wide-spanning sagas of lore. I want to talk about these classes of flavor text and the cards that I believe have great taste versus the cards that are a bit more unpalatable. As a point of forewarning, not all categories or texts are as purely distinct from each other, with certain classes of flavor text bleeding together, but their distinctions still stand. So let's dive right into Flavor Town.
I'm taking it to Flavor Town.
The first class of flavor text comes in the form of what I call descriptors. These are flavor texts that do what they say on the tin, which is describe the card that they're on. A lot of these are, to put it lightly, very, very boring. Take a look at early Yu-Gi-Oh cards where a majority of flavor texts consist of brief, bland descriptions that never really translated to what the card actually did or functioned within the game. I remember reading Mystic Clown as a kid, thinking it was the best level 4 monster in the game, and being utterly disappointed when it was swiftly run over by my cousin's Lejin. If you think this was an issue just with the older cards, take a look at Cyber's normal monsters, which released in 2017 and still feature bland, one-line descriptors that don't really add anything. But not all descriptors are like this. One of my favorite flavor texts is in fact a descriptor, and found within Wattail Dragon.
Capable of indefinite flight. Attacks by wrapping its body with electricity and ramming into opponents. Important! Capturing the Wattail Dragon is forbidden by the ancient rules and is a level 6 offense, the minimum sentence for which is imprisonment for no less than 2,500 heliocycles.
Here, its flavor does its art justice, describing its strength and unique method of attacking. Additionally, it pulls double duty and gives players insight regarding the lore of the realm it resides in with its second sentence, tying in with a card printed about 5 years ago. Speaking of lore, the second class of flavor is my favorite by far, world building. I personally think that, particularly due to the scarcity of lore-related cards that exist, much less flavors retaining to connected stories, this class of flavor is always a treat and almost never goes bad. From literary references to self-contained events, Yu-Gi-Oh's vanillas are chock full of fun little tidbits. My favorite of these is without a doubt the two-parter of Dragonhorn Hunter and her future self, Dragoncore Hexer.
The horns were needed to prepare a medicine for her village, suffering from a plague. Unknown to her, the dragons burned and trampled her village, once displaced from their den. Many years of dragon slaying have bathed this huntress in countless amounts of blood. Each drop gave her more power, but at a terrible price, as her cursed body now spreads the dragon taint like an epidemic. No village will take her in, and she no longer even remembers what inspired her crusade in the first place.
Although its lore is darker and much more reminiscent of Magic the Gathering's more violent wars and battles, this is one of those cards that really opens up the mind to the imaginative world that Yu-Gi-Oh's monsters take place in. It gives players the ability to imagine what this warrior's life could have been before the tragedy had taken place, one similar to that of traditional high fantasy, heroes, monsters, and mirroring the tragedies that take place within these realms. Speaking of world building, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does technically have an interconnected lore, albeit a bit confusing. Thanks to the dual terminal and world legacy, players have been given a semblance of a concrete intertwined universe. Between the warring factions of the world, the tragedies that have taken place in order to claim victory, Yu-Gi-Oh's official lore can be read in excruciating detail within the Master Guide. However, I much prefer the tidbits of connecting art and flavor found within the cards of Yu-Gi-Oh! Evil Swarm Heliotrope is a great example of this.
Eliminate, eradicate, exterminate. These are the thoughts of the lingering steel swarm souls, yearning for a body so that they might make their dream a reality.
It is a great representative of the Illswarm virus's effect on the mind, corrupting whatever it infects into a mindless slave of destruction and completely incomprehensible. However, my favorite has to be Cleafort's Scout. Being the life system of the planet, with the system part taken quite literally, it only makes sense why the flavor text is written as if it was a boot up menu or a CMD prompt.
Moving in replic mode. An error has occurred while executing c:\safi\nef.exe. Unknown publisher. Allow c:\tier\q_liveart.exe. And y. Moving in autonom mode.
This mixture of real-world elements alongside the foreshadowing of the Infernoid's slowly tightening grip on the world is in what my mind cements Qliphort Scout as my favorite flavor text in the lore class. But not all Yu-Gi-Oh cards have to be riddled with edginess or part of a 300-page novella in order to qualify as good flavor, which brings us to our last category, humor. While humor is subjective, I think that with certain texts, it really can bring a lot to the table in certain instances. With Legendary Collection Joey's World, a product that consisted of half OCG vanillas, localizers decided to have fun with the product and give these cards flavor texts as if Joey were the one writing them.
This Alpha Wolf uses his sense of smell to find the enemy. Hey, quit sniffing at my socks.
Although there are a couple of other cards who share this class of jokes within its flavor, none are as iconic or ridiculed as the aforementioned Mech Knight Avram, which brings us to the question, what makes for good flavor text? To me personally, only a small handful of cards have flavor text that's actually worth something. In Yu-Gi-Oh, there is a sea of worthless, half-heartedly written descriptive flavor text, and these are the ones that disappoint me the most. The real wastes of flavors aren't the ones that are noticed for the wrong reasons or are terribly written to be made fun of, they're the ones that nobody remembers and that nobody will react to. But Mech Knight Avram, that's a card anybody will want to check out. Thanks for watching. Hey gamers, this is me, Stevie. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video, especially since the editing time was basically cut in half because I had all the transitions basically pre-made for me. If you want to watch more of this stuff, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, blah 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 blah. It's absolutely free, costs you guys nothing, and help support me, bigger number, better person. Huge thanks to K-Rock Meatball, Annie Evie, Dyer, yugioh, and King Scarlet yugioh for lending me their voices to give a little bit more depth to the flavor text, and I really think that it added a lot. So be sure to check them out. Their channels are linked down below. They all make very amazing stuff, and I, again, highly recommend them. Huge thanks to the patrons as well. Thank you guys for being direct supporters of the channel. Obviously, this content is 100% free. There's never an incentive or requirement in order to pay money or that sort of garbage. But if you do have a couple extra dollars that you want to float my way, massive appreciation, but again, never mandatory. But there are little updates, little sort of previews into what sort of videos I'm planning out, the sort of creative process, all that sort of documented on the Patreon. So if you want to give that a little look, it's going to be linked in the description down below. And for the supporters, huge thanks to Frosty, Junior Journey X Auction Series Uwu, Travis M. Takamiya, Brave1007, Best BA Player Italy, and Jason Fails. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, check out everyone down below, and yeah, it's gonna be it for me. See ya.